Speaking of video games and whatnot, I want to actually get into our question of the night. Okay, this isn't a farm. Shut the fuck up. So,
Giddy up, boy. Giddy up. Yeah. Answer the question. But people, question of the night. With the advancements in video games, VR, and computer games, do you believe tabletop games and board games will become a dying art? You know, Monopoly, Sorry, Uno, etc. Or do you feel they will always have a place for them?
No.
If you're saying no and above the age of 25, your answer is valid.
no, really quick, I'm just going to say this really quick.
Yeah.
Once you go through a day where your electricity turns off, you don't got shit to do, and it's hot in your fucking house, and you're like, oh my god, it's dark in here, I'm scared, then you'll know. Board games are fucking awesome.
No.
Yeah.
I will say, as an avid board gamer, that board games are not dying. They're actually like having a renaissance right now.
Yeah, exactly.
There are so many board games. You can find a board game that appeals to your, whatever genre, whatever kind of play style you like. There's so many out there. There are so many successful Kickstarters for board games out there. Card games. I mean, you saw Exploding Kittens. That was a very successful Kickstarter board game, card game. But it's in that vein of board games. That was really big. And
I think basically board games are going to be rendered obsolete eventually with the whole, because we're getting everything being put in like a phone digitally right now. It's all in the palm, right? So eventually a lot of people might drop out of the whole.
See, I can't see that because
no.
I'm part of we have a very active board gaming group in the area I live in that we meet up and we play a lot of board games, and there's always never enough time to play all these games because there's games that last 3 to 6 hours. I have played games
Jenny,
that last that long.
I'm going to throw this question out there because where do you live again?
I live in Wisconsin.
Wisconsin. Do you believe that you guys take more like you like the board games, you want to do them more because you live in a small town?
I go down to Milwaukee to play board games. We have a very, very active board gaming group, not just in the small town of West Bend, but in Milwaukee in general. We have a very, very active group that continually plays board games. The shops that support us, we go play there a lot of the times too. It's a really active community. You just kind of there's been web shows like Will Wheaton's show Tabletop really helped kind of research the interest in board games. I mean, one of my favorite board games to play is the Firefly board game, and it's so intricate and detailed, and it's so much fun to play. It takes a couple hours, but it's so fun.
Can I just expand on what I was saying? Basically, where I grew up, right? I grew up in Nigeria, and I grew up in Nigeria, and there was a lot of we didn't have access to like video game consoles and things like that, so we did retreat to board games like Ludo and drafts and checkers and all that sort of thing. But when we started getting video game consoles and like Game Boy Colors and things like that, we then moved from board games all over to the whole digital domain. So that's what I was trying to say. I think it's mostly going to be, it's going to go in waves, kind of like fashion trends. Eventually, board games are going to be out of fashion, and it might come back. That's what I think. That's what I basically think.
I can see that, but I mean, even with the people I play with, like, okay, yes, I'm 27, so maybe I'm on the younger end of the current generation, because a lot of people I play with are in their 30s and 40s, or even a little older. I still have people who are younger than me play board games too. I mean, there are people who still go out and they play Dungeons and Dragons, or they come out to our weekly meetups and they play board games with us. So there's the people, and especially like if you're like your parents' board game, usually you're the kids' board game too. So it just kind of builds up from there.
As I just want to mention, because one of the things I do, I don't know, I threw out that I have a channel. One of the things I do on it is play tabletop games, and I have a tabletop store right across the street, and that place is more packed than the video game store across the street. It's more packed than GameStop. Yeah, like they have Pokemon tournament every weekend, and there's just kids and people of all races, ages, and everything. Just everyone's there. There's
Yeah.
D&D nights. Game. I think that maybe tabletop games might, fuse together one day. Like a lot of tabletop groups now that I listen and watch play over Google Hangouts and whatnot, but they still roll their dice at the desk and show the DM through the camera and everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think that they'll mesh together and fuse, but I don't think one will make the other obsolete.
I guess perhaps I was looking at it in a way that tabletop is more like having an arcade parlor or something like that. Because I don't see a lot of that around anymore. So I thought basically
It depends on your location. I mean,
Yeah.
we have a chain of stores. It's 3 stores, and they're very active in like promoting and getting people out to come play board games, and they post demos and stuff. And when they have big events, like it is packed in there. It's really hard to find a spot to sit, even on nights when they do have like D&D and they have Magic the Gathering. It's packed. Like there are some active
Let me throw
players.
this question to y'all. Do y'all think it's just like slowly dying? Because
Like I said, it's a renaissance.
No, actually, Anthony, I hate to bring it up, but I actually got a good story with tabletop games and these things in a while.
Wait, Ganja, before you ask that, because I might lose my point, but I just wanted to ask just a quick question because it might be a slowly art, but I just want to ask y'all this: when is the last time y'all heard somebody say, "I'm playing dominoes"?
No, exactly. That's actually a very good question.
Literally
I
yesterday.
do because I do all the goddamn time. Drunk dominoes is fun.
I'm not going to say where I work because I want that off the tables, but at my place of work, we have dominoes there and they play with it. I love to play dominoes, man. Like, consistently. Like, I don't know, people still like playing board games. My little sister will even come up and go like, hey, you want to play a board game? And we'll still do that. Board games are still popular.
The thing is, I think people will always have a place for the nostalgic. Like as we become more technology oriented, people will always like long for the days where things were just simpler. So I definitely think there will always be a place for board games.
I noticed people, like especially in my neighborhood, like we used to have this movie theater where all the kind of hoodlum kids used to hang out. They kind of kicked us all out, and they had this whole little game area where all these nerds go and they play Pokemon and tabletop games and stuff. And now it's just always packed on Fridays and Saturdays, except I don't see them walking around the place anymore. It's just all focused in that one area.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you mean. It's like because it's a whole new generation now, and people have so much stuff. Like when I was a kid, board games are funner than playing Super Nintendo because it's kind of like at least it's right here, right in front of me. Now I can play games like online, and they're board games too. And I think that's what's killing it in a way because I mean, check this shit out, dude. Like fucking the Monopoly on PS4. You can't tell me you would rather, set up the whole fucking board and get all that shit ready in the board game and not just play this instead.
All right. I gotta stop you there because that's fucking Monopoly. That is bullshit. Fucking hate Monopoly. That's a good way to
Monopoly is kind of a bullshit board game, yeah.
Monopoly is badass, man.
Yeah, I fucking love Monopoly.
I can't. Whoa. I can't talk about shit. No, I can't talk about shit about Monopoly because that game is the reason why I understand finance. Like,
It looks like we've got a lot of people who are traumatized by Monopoly or something.
I played Monopoly. I've never finished it once.
I did finish
And
it.
again, Anthony, I just want to bring up, like, you showed me the PS4 game of, you can play Monopoly on your PS4. I don't see it as killing off Monopoly. They're just fusing. It's just technology and tabletop are just fusing together to create some weird malformed creature that But
if you're playing Monopoly on your phone, is that still considered playing a board game?
Technically, yeah.
Technically, yeah. I have a few apps on my phone that I play Ticket to Ride, and I play a couple other board games on my phone when I'm bored.
Another thing to keep in mind too is like the simplicity. Like I play Yahtzee and fucking Words with Friends. That's so much better than saying, "Hey, buddy, come to my house. Let's play Scrabble, and you can get the fuck back home." It's like, no, let's play Words with Friends. Take your time, do whatever I can. I don't have to set anything up. I don't have to like get the pieces like together. Like fuck that, dude. It's free. It's awesome. Just gotta watch a commercial every now and then.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Yeah, and there's a couple games that I really like that would not work as physical copies, but are great digitally. Gremlins Inc. is set up like a board game. It's on Steam. It's pretty good. But it's set up like a board game, but because it's only virtual, you still get a lot of little bits and pieces and whatnot that keep the game flowing better. I even like Secret Hitler, which I play on Tabletop Simulator all the time. I like it better virtually on that than I would playing it with the actual cards.
Yeah.